Samantha Slinn is an illustrator and digital product designer from the Couve, aka Vancouver, but actually from New West. She went to school for product design, such as apps, websites, etc., at SFU, and that's what she does full-time now. There are a ton of creatives in her family, so art was always there, but she didn't really start taking it seriously until around 2014. Some of her work has been seen in Hypebae and the New York Times.
She moved around a bit for internships for product design. She moved to places like San Francisco and the Netherlands. Those moves ended up influencing her illustration work. Her style has changed a lot over the years, and it's still not really a set style, but enough that she can start getting commissioned, which started happening in 2018.
Glow Radio is a podcast for sassy entrepreneurs who are in the process of quitting their much-hated day job to work for themselves full-time.
You can expect weekly conversations with unapologetic creatives, business owners, and influencers.
We discuss tips on how to reach your goals, manage your time, and keep your sanity while being a major boss babe.
We're Jacqueline and Clara, your favorite hype women who will cheer you on and push you to create the life that you want. We're business strategists, career and life mentors, and wellness advocates. Hit that subscribe button and follow us on IG at Glow Radio Co. Stay sassy, babes! Before we get started, we wanted to thank Bluehost for partnering with us. We're so happy to use the best hosting service that doesn't break our bank. Bluehost powers over 2 million websites, including ours. They offer 24/7 support, a money-back guarantee, and is the #1 recommended web hosting by WordPress.org.
If you're an entrepreneur building or revamping your website, we highly recommend Bluehost as a trusted resource. Sign up for your website hosting today at www.bluehost.com/track/WoGlow. That's WHOAGLOW. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode on Glow Radio. We are so excited today to welcome Samantha. She is an artist, illustrator, overall creative boss girl. So we're super excited to chat with her today. So how about you tell us a little bit about your background and your journey for those who don't know you?
Sure. So I went to, or I guess let's take it way back. So I kind of come from a family of artists, I suppose. My dad's an interior architect, so art's kind of always been in my blood, I suppose. And then I went to school at SFU for user experience design, which is kind of unrelated, but I suppose it's still kind of in an art field. And then I started doing illustration when I got a tablet. I started doing more digital illustration. And then from there I got an iPad, and then I started doing more commission work. And that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm doing commissions for some magazines and things like that, and then also just personal portrait things. So that's kind of where my work is, and then also just personal stuff that I do for myself. So yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I am now.
So do you work for a firm, or are you just mainly working for yourself now?
Yeah, so I work independently, so I don't have an agent or anything like that. And then it's kind of my side hustle kind of right now. But then I work at a design agency, which is completely different, but that's my full-time job.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get your first piece of commissioned work? How did that come about?
Yeah, so it's kind of through connections, I think. It's kind of weird because you never really know where it comes from. Someone's talking to their friend about oh, I have a friend who does art, or they're just talking about their art, and then, through Instagram, people just kind of find you. So it was for Hypebae, and it was for their blog kind of, or online magazine. And my friend had done a couple pieces for them at one point, and then I think had talked to the art director or something like that, and then she contacted me and I did a piece for them. So that's how I got my first official one that's kind of cool that you can talk to people about.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Hypebae's huge.
Yeah, Hypebae's it was really exciting. It's always you're trying to keep it together, but at the same time you're also very excited. So yeah,
that is so cool.
Yeah.
So how would you describe your art style?
That's always so hard to describe your own stuff. But I think it's kind of like 30s inspired, like 30s cartoon inspired for like a lot of like the shapes that I use for like facial structure and things like that. But I also always like to try out different styles from like other artists that I'm inspired by. So sometimes it'll kind of go off like into crazy land. And that's always really fun because it's trying something new and you get to like explore a bit, and you're not so like stiff in your work. You get to explore a little bit more, but I say it's mostly like cartoon, bright colors. It's usually around some sort of like theme, like there's usually like a story for the or for the things that I'm drawing. Not so much like objects, more people. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what are some of the artists that you do get inspired by?
I'm really inspired by George Kondo, who's like an artist that did some, I mean, Kanye is a little controversial, but he did some album artwork for Kanye, and I mean, he's like an artist in his own right too, not just through Kanye. And then there's like a bunch of illustrators that are like not famous, but they're just like on Instagram, and that's like where I pull a lot of my inspiration from. So people who work at other animation studios or just like independent artists themselves, those are the people that I kind of like look to for inspiration. So yeah, all the very like not super huge name people.
And more like modern rather than like old school artists or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, some old school artists have like really interesting stuff to look at too, just because it's like they were like the first people to like use a black outline on a person or like distort people's faces. So they're a little bit more interesting and not just so realistic. So yeah, you can kind of like look anywhere you want.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I know that you moved around a little bit for internships. So you've lived in San Francisco and the Netherlands. So how did those moves kind of influence your art style?
I think the Netherlands especially influenced my art style, just because when we were there, I was there with like a group of friends, and we were doing a lot of like going to museums and investigating like the art scene there. And there's like a lot of, in the town that we were living in, there's a lot of other design happening. So it's just kind of like all around you. So I think just like living there, seeing people's artwork out on the street or in museums really impacted my style and kind of like shifted it. Like if you scroll through my Instagram, there's like different, you can kind of like see different periods. Like there's like a block that looks the same, then another block that looks the same. So it's kind of, those have almost lined up with like when I've moved, or like, yeah, when something big is like shifted in my life. So yeah, and I would just say like the content kind of shifts as well, like depending on where I live, like whether that's kind of like influenced by politics a little bit or influenced by just like the food or like what I'm seeing around me, kind of like shifts the content as well. So yeah,
cool.
So where did you find these opportunities for these internships? Like, were they from school, or was it you just found it online? Or
they're mostly from school. There's like a really good program at SFU that like enables students to get internships really easily. So, and it's got like a really good connection, and you can kind of get them through like the companies themselves or people who you know who are like working there at the time. But yeah, it's mostly been through school.
Did you have to like compete for a spot?
Yeah, it's like it's not so like super competitive, but there's like a little bit of kind of finesse that you have to put into it in order to kind of make a connection with someone, and then they're picking you obviously for your skills or like what they think you can do, and then partially for like a culture fit as well. So it's like it's part skill and then part just like making that connection with someone. So it's like competitive in the sense that you're trying to like come up with a funny line or like introduce yourself in an interesting way or present like projects that other people like aren't also presenting. So yeah, it's a little bit of that.
Set yourself apart.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what advice would you have for someone who wants to pursue this industry?
For illustration, I would say just like follow a lot of people on Instagram. Something about following like not only people who inspire you, but I've started following a lot of like art directors as well. And you know, like the algorithms, they're magical. And you can get like a lot of people like viewing your stuff accidentally just by like following the right kind of people. So I'd say like that's been really helpful for getting jobs. And then also just like try to get some tools that feel right for you. So like I work a lot in digital, but sometimes I'll just kind of explore analog stuff, so like pen and paper, just to kind of like put a little bit of different spin on my work. So I'd say, yeah, Instagram, use the algorithms, and just like find a medium that kind of fits your what you want to produce. Sometimes it's easier to like make analog looking stuff digitally, and sometimes it's just kind of like all an experiment. So yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you do commissioned work earlier. So do you mainly do it for like businesses and brands, or do you do a lot for like just individuals who might want some commissioned work?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I'd say it's more towards like individuals right now. But some of the yeah, I guess it's more for individuals, more like portraits and things like that. For individuals, it's always portraits. But for companies, it's usually like magazines or editorial pieces, not so much like brands in particular,
like products.
Yeah,
or something.
exactly. So it's kind of that like middle ground where it's more editorial. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So when you do like a portrait for an individual, you do it in your style?
Yeah. So that's been the tricky parts, because it's like my style is very I don't want to say generic, but like the people look very generic. Like I don't really add a lot of detail, so it's in my style, but it's also sometimes I have to change my style a little bit to like kind of capture people with a little bit more realism. So it's in my style, but it's like kind of like a portrait style of my style. Yeah, which
That's
is interesting.
You gotta add their like flair to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you don't want to just like have everyone looking exactly the same. You want to like do your job and capture the essence of people. And sometimes you can do that through like hair or accessories or clothing. But sometimes you need to kind of like shift a little bit to kind of get the result that you want.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And what are some of your favorite like magazines or editorials that you've worked for?
I mean, Hypebae was really, I like the way that they, like their aesthetic is really nice. It kind of like matches with what I naturally do. I did a piece for this company or this magazine called Lenny Letter, and they have a lot of really interesting styles, and like a lot, the tricky thing is that like a lot of editorial or like people who are looking for editorial work will hire artists with like a bunch of different styles. So it's like, for example, like the New York Times or like the New Yorker or something, it's like every single piece in there is like pretty much a different style, which is like really interesting, but it doesn't really you can't really be like, oh yeah, I like the style of that one, because it's like it's so different. But yeah.
What was the piece that you did for Hypebae? Like, was it for an article or?
Yeah, it was for an online article that they did. And it was about like body positivity it was like a summer themed article. So yeah, it was really, I liked that it was kind of had like a really powerful message behind it as well, which is always really nice to find when you're doing like a drawing of something. It's nice to have like a meaning behind it, so you can kind of add some more details that kind of hint toward that. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So more about the business side. So how does an artist usually get paid? Like, do you do contracts? Do you take deposits? Like, tell us about the process.
If you're enjoying this episode so far, please comment Glow Up on YouTube and leave us a review on iTunes.
Give us 5 stars or we will find you.
We will!
Yeah, I think it kind of varies for each person, and I'm definitely still learning as I go. And I need to be a little bit more like business minded about certain things, especially when it comes to like portrait work with friends and family or with connections like that. But basically, for the most part, it's like a contract work. So someone will approach you, they'll either give you the direct piece that they need and like just ask you if you're available and just kind of like sign you right away, or you'll kind of go through a negotiation process of what do you want, what are you looking for, does this kind of like work for both of us? So it kind of depends on who's approaching you for the work. And then usually for articles for editorial work that I've done, it's been like just not like a half and half kind of payment schedule. It's just like all in one. Like you sign the contract, you submit your payment details, and then they just like fire it off to you.
Like before you finish the work, or
it's kind of not like it's not a set time, but the process of like getting your payment details in and things like that, it kind of like parallels the time frame that you have to finish the project. So for example, I'll get like an email to start a project on a Wednesday and it'll be due on a Monday. So it's like a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, that's fast.
Yeah, so you submit your details, and then by the time you've submitted it, the payment is like coming in the next day or something like that. So it's like, not super like linear. It's a little bit like 2 tracks.
Gotcha. It's like different every time, basically.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though. At least it's not like you get paid way after you're done. You're just kind of like sitting there waiting for a check to come in. Like, that's so stressful.
That would be stressful.
I like that it's like, okay, at least it's kind of both at the same time. You get it when you're done, and that's it.
Yeah, especially if that's like your whole income and you're like relying on that, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly. That's so stressful.
Not when it's coming in.
Yeah.
But I think it might be different if you're under like an agency, like, or someone is like managing your contracts for you. It might be a little bit more structured, but mine has just been kind of like all over the place just because I'm doing it on my own.
Yeah.
So,
Would you be interested in joining an agency, or?
Yeah, I would. You kind of have to apply. It's like a black box. Like, I don't know, you have to apply for certain agencies, and then other ones will kind of contact you. And then some ones are more like boutique, so they'll only have like maybe 30 or something illustrators, whereas other ones are more like a directory. So it'll be like hundreds of illustrators that are under this label. Yeah. And then I guess like the client will just kind of search what they want, and then it kind of comes up. So there's like a bit of a range of who can represent you, and the boutique ones are a little bit more difficult to get into.
Yeah. You'd have to be like a really big artist or something for that.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a process, but would definitely be interested in that.
Yeah.
Because it also take a cut, so it's like.
Oh, that's true. But I guess they help you find like crazy work.
Yeah.
So I do see on your website you do sell your illustrations. So would you actually consider designing clothes or like furniture decorative pieces or anything like that in the future?
Yeah, that would be really cool. Really, really cool. I haven't really like thought about what I would do in that, but I have there's like a website called Society 6.
Oh yeah,
yes, for sure.
Yeah, so you can like put your designs on objects, which is like super cool.
Yeah.
And you don't have to like touch it at all. Like it just kind of like gets shipped to them. But yeah, I've like dabbled in that a little bit. But outside of that, I haven't really like thought about creating merch or like creating any objects outside of just illustrations.
Because I'm just saying that I would wear a t-shirt.
Yes,
I would totally rock that.
Okay.
Or like a crew neck or something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah,
something I could just like, or even like those cool pins.
Oh yeah, like a pin.
I would rock that.
I had a friend who made some pins. They were beautiful. They were so nice. Yeah, and like she definitely sold out of them because they were just like super fresh. But yeah, pins would be sick.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Business idea.
Business idea. So what do you usually do when you experience like an artist's block?
Oh, that's such a good question. Sometimes like I mentioned, like I work in digital mostly, so sometimes I'll just switch to like pen and paper, and that can kind of unblock you a little bit just because your brain is like not used to what you're doing. Other times I've actually found it's really easy, well, not easy, but like it helps ideating when you have like a theme that you're going, like you want to illustrate, because for the most part when I'm drawing something I just kind of like start drawing and then it just kind of happens. But yeah, if you have like a theme in mind and you try to iterate like little tiles, like little mini drawings, and not go super detailed on it, it kind of helps to kind of open up your mind to different possibilities, and you're just doing like really quick drawings, so it doesn't take a lot of time, but I usually find that helps. But especially the changing medium thing, that's super helpful.
Okay. It's good to know.
So I know we've touched on this a little bit earlier, kind of you would eventually want to go into an agency and etc. But what are your future goals? Like, I guess your plans, like eventually I guess quit your full-time work and pursue this full-time, or? Yeah, so I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And yeah, I guess like I had this idea that I wanted to, because right now I'm working in more of like a product design field, so working on like apps and websites and things like that. And I had this idea that I at some point wanted to shift into like more like motion design, which would be like drawing but in animation. So I kind of wanted to switch into that because I thought that might be like a good mix of just like
static illustration and more like product or like the kind of thinking that you do for that. But it takes a little bit of training, so you kind of have to like learn a bit before you can go into that. So that's kind of where my head is at right now. But I'm also pretty happy in the field that I'm in, and just having this kind of be like my passion project. Just because I'm also conscious that it can quickly turn from like something you love to do into something that you're kind of regretting doing because it's not really interesting or fun for you anymore. But yeah, I mean, it would be really awesome to have it be more than just like something I'm doing on the weekends, you know, like kind of turn into more of a business. So yeah, that would be kind of like my goal would be to have it be more substantial, but still kind of be fun.
Yeah. As long as it's fun, then you're fine with it.
Yeah. So.
Totally. I hear like a lot about people who have like a passion project or something, and then they like try to do it full time, and then it kind of turns into work, and you don't really feel like it's fun. So it's definitely, you need to find a balance.
Yeah. But then also, I mean, it's like if you want to take it into a business and it becomes not fun, it's like work through it. But if it's something that you're kind of I'm kind of hesitating about it right now, so I feel like maybe need to like work on it a little bit more before I make that decision. But yeah, I mean, that would be sick, right? It's like someone just messages you get like a huge contract, and then it becomes your whole job. Like that's awesome.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So now we're going to move on to some more fun random questions just to get to know your personality a little bit more.
A sip of
Better prep for this.
So number 1, did you ever have an imaginary friend as a child?
Ooh. I think I still have one now.
Ooh, tell us.
What's their name?
It's not an imaginary friend. It's just me talking to myself. I mean, I'm sure I did. I like hosted tea parties for like imaginary friends. I was like just doing the most as a child, entertaining myself because my brother is like quite a bit older than me. So I was not a single child, but I definitely probably had one.
Awesome.
Probably.
Apparently, my parents said I talked to the wall when I was a kid.
Oh my god, yeah.
And they were
That's
like
beautiful.
completely freaked out. Like we'll be eating dinner and I'll just be like blah 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 blah, like right at the wall.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, they're just like sweating a little. Like,
is it like the same section of the wall every time, or is it just like the wall in
I
general?
don't know.
You
They
don't
just said
remember
I
this?
talked to the wall.
Oh.
I was like I was really young, like 2 or something.
That's got a little bit more creepiness.
Right? Like I would just like look at the wall, like I don't know what I'd say, but that's what they told me I would do, and they were just like.
I definitely had an imaginary friend when I was a kid. It was a male, and I think his name was. It was like a baby though. Like I felt like in my mind, my imaginary friend was like a baby, like a toddler.
Okay,
but then, you were also a toddler.
Yeah, I was pretty young. Like I was a child, and then I think his name was like Eris or something. I don't even know if that's an actual name.
Eris. It sounds like, kind of like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right?
Maybe you're like prepping for your like future child. His name is going to be Eris.
That's an odd name, but
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Eris.
It's weird.
Yeah,
he would just follow me around.
I like the name. Yeah. You guys got some like very creepy
childhood.
You're like, come here, Erin.
It wasn't like
your
that.
mom's just like, oh my god, what's happening?
So good. So good.
Oh my god.
Our second random question. What do you think is the ugliest vegetable or fruit?
Whoa. Oh my god.
Because there are some ugly ones.
Yeah, this is a very deep question.
Yeah. I just want to say celery. I mean, it's not that ugly.
Poor celery.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm kind of biased because I don't really get down with celery. But also, like, the leaves, for some reason, like, they always seem to die so tragically. Like, they just like kind of, like, get all and it's just not appetizing. So.
But if you cut the celery and put paint, you can stamp a rose.
Oh.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Like,
you cut it, and because it kind of looks like the way all the...
celery
grounds
it
kind of.
I never even thought of that.
You got a kindergarten teacher in you.
You were an artist.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. That makes sense because you can make like stamps out of potatoes. So like,
celery
is like cut to like a perfect shape.
Y'all better like the celery now.
Yeah, okay.
How dare you?
Change my mind.
Let's stand up for the vegetables.
Here, random question number 3. Where would you travel to if you had 2 weeks of free time and unlimited money?
Ooh. Does it have to be like a real place in the world, or
what
are the rules?
You're interested.
I like that.
Okay, I want to hear more.
This is the artist's brain.
Okay. So first thought is this like this place on Lord of the Rings. There's like this city or like a town. in like this really hilly area. It's like kind of it's like a fortress sitting on top of this really beautiful mountain. So that's where I would go first.
Ooh.
And then there's also, I don't know where it is or what it's called, but I've seen it's like a really sharp cliff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say maybe like England, Ireland, Scotland, somewhere like that.
Okay.
So I'm just naming like very specific places.
I like
that
though.
Because the selfie is important.
Yeah,
more specific than that.
Yeah. So it's like a very steep cliff.
So that would have been like
drop off.
the first like few days. You've gone to Lord of the Rings, mystical fortress.
Yeah.
And then you've gone to the cliff
with the drop off.
Yeah. And then I also want to go to the capital of Nigeria.
Ooh.
I think it would be really interesting. It looks really beautiful. So that would be.
I need to Google that.
Yeah, my
cool.
3 places.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that area, so.
You know what? I think my boyfriend, he was raised in Nigeria for like a couple years when he was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Because I think his dad worked in like people from Hong Kong. They would get like shipped over to work in like factories there.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't really know how it works. So then when he actually lived there for like 2 years when he was a baby.
Oh, cool.
And I think he said he got bit by some bug and he
man.
he
and
like
he turned into
swallowed
Spider-Man. He's actually Spider-Man.
Little did you know. Wow. Very cool. Nice.
This took a turn.
Yeah. I like where it's going.
Clara's boyfriend is Spider-Man.
Yeah, this is a good way
Yes.
to capture the moment.
Proud. All right. So now we're going to get into our final section.
Okay.
This is a lightning round for this or that.
Okay.
And we do judge your answers.
Great.
So
I'll judge myself. I'm sure I'll say something stupid.
All right. So the first one. Anime or Western cartoon?
Western.
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunset.
Air dry or hair dryer?
Air dry.
Yoga pants or jeans?
It's a good jeans.
Duck or goose?
Oh, goose.
Melt warmers or candles?
Candles.
Paper calendar or cell phone calendar?
Cell phone calendar.
Puppies or babies?
Puppies.
Yeah. Spring or fall?
Fall.
Bowling or putt-putt?
Putt-putt.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay.
I like it. All right.
There's like
That
no
was
reasoning for my
quick.
answers, but I just felt like,
Just because.
yeah, just go with it.
You don't
Whatever
need it.
your heart
Yeah.
speak more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're like puppies.
Yeah.
Puppies all the
Screw
way.
babies. Nobody likes babies.
That's a consensus
Just
on
like, I
this
guess the question
podcast.
that implied, yeah.
Or my future children would just listen to this.
Yeah.
In the future
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be like,
there
you didn't like babies?
You don't like babies either.
You were an accident.
Alrighty, well that's all the questions that we had today.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
That was
thanks
really
for having
fun
me. Yeah.
learning more about the creative illustration world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where can everyone find you online and social media?
My Instagram handle is Slinn, so 2 S's, Li, 2 N's. So
Awesome.
Definitely check her out. Her art is amazing. Like, I love it. It's very, I want to say the word quirky and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
very,
bloop. That's a good
Yeah.
word. You should have described me.
okay. I will write a description and it would be, I'll definitely make sure I add the words quirky and fun.
Yes, they'll be in there.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Alrighty,
thank you
thanks
so much. We're going to log out.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, Glow Babes.
Give us your 5 golden stars on iTunes and we'll be your best friends, I swear. And please share this episode with your babes that need some glow and will benefit from this. Thank you.
Glow.